Imagine living a life where your faith not only guides you, but also empowers you to heal, protect, and change the lives of others. That's exactly what Padre Pio embodied through his spiritual powers. Born Francesco Forgione, Padre Pio was a saint who performed Padre Pio miracles that transcended time and belief. His ability to heal, both spiritually and physically, mark him as one of the most revered Catholic saints. His story is more than just one of faith. It's one of profound divine intervention, the kind that turns lives around. For many, Padre Pio is a symbol of spiritual protection and healing. People travel from far and wide, seeking his help for miraculous cures and spiritual guidance. His reputation as a saint who healed with faith isn't just folklore. It's a testament to the healing powers of Padre Pio. But what does it mean to truly experience such miracles? What can we learn from Padre Pio's faith that can transform our own lives? As we dive deeper into the Padre Pio story, we realize that his ability to heal wasn't just about physical ailments. He provided spiritual restoration, peace, and protection for those who were lost or troubled. His Padre Pio miracles are not just tales from the past. They carry lessons that can inspire us today. Whether it's through a simple prayer, faith, or intention, Padre Pio's life-changing influence shows that the divine is always at work, ready to heal and protect those who seek it. In this exploration of Padre Pio and his legacy, we will uncover how his life, his faith, and his spiritual healing can serve as a guide for us today. We will learn how to harness the same divine power he wielded to bring protection, healing, and a deeper connection to the divine into our own lives. Are you ready to open your heart to the healing touch of Padre Pio? Padre Pio's spiritual powers were not confined to just one realm. They span both physical and spiritual healing. It's not just about miraculous cures, but the profound way he could bring peace and protection to the souls of the suffering. When people came to Padre Pio seeking help, they weren't only asking for physical healing, they were reaching out for spiritual renewal, the kind of deep, life-changing transformation that could only come from divine intervention. Padre Pio miracles were not just physical healings, but also emotional and spiritual restorations. He had a unique ability to see beyond the surface of illness, looking directly into the soul of the person and understanding the deeper reasons behind their suffering. His Padre Pio healing didn't always take the form of immediate physical recovery. Sometimes the healing was a gradual process, involving the person's faith, prayer, and complete surrender to God's will. This wasn't just about alleviating pain. It was about restoring balance between the body, mind, and soul. One of the most famous aspects of Padre Pio's spiritual powers was his ability to heal through his prayers. People who were physically sick, emotionally distraught, or spiritually lost came to him for guidance and healing. Through his intercession, many experienced spiritual protection and miraculous recovery. But it's essential to note that Padre Pio didn't just perform miracles at will. He was deeply connected to God, and his miracles were the result of his unwavering faith. His belief in the power of prayer was unparalleled, and he always directed people back to God as the ultimate source of healing. In addition to physical healing, Padre Pio was known for his ability to provide spiritual protection. Many people came to him not because they were sick, but because they were struggling with the challenges of life, emotional turmoil, doubts, fears, and spiritual confusion. His prayers offered comfort and peace, and his Padre Pio life-changing influence gave them the strength to move forward. Whether it was through a simple prayer or a deeper, more involved spiritual process, Padre Pio acted as a beacon of light for those lost in darkness. His faith was the catalyst for countless miracles, both seen and unseen. There are countless testimonies from those who experienced Padre Pio miracles firsthand. One powerful example is that of a man who was terminally ill with cancer. He had sought help from many doctors but was given no hope. When he visited Padre Pio, he placed his full trust in the priest's spiritual powers. Padre Pio prayed for him, and over time, the man experienced a full recovery. It wasn't just the physical healing that was miraculous. It was the transformation of his faith, his understanding of his connection to the divine, and his renewed purpose in life. But even those who didn't experience a physical miracle left Padre Pio with something powerful: renewed hope. Padre Pio's faith in God was so strong that it became contagious. He instilled in those who came to him the belief that divine healing was possible, not just for their bodies, but for their spirits as well. The miracles of Padre Pio weren't confined to the dramatic healings, but included the quiet, profound transformations in the hearts of those who experienced them. Padre Pio's story is one that goes beyond traditional narratives. It's a tale of how a deeply faithful man connected so fully with the divine that he became a channel for miraculous events. These events weren't based on some external power, but rather his connection with God and his unwavering belief in the power of faith. His Padre Pio healing wasn't just about restoring the physical body. It was about bringing people closer to their true selves and to God. Padre Pio's faith acted as a bridge for them to cross over from despair to hope, from suffering to peace. This incredible ability of Padre Pio to heal wasn't an anomaly. It was the result of his continuous devotion, constant prayer, and deep connection to God. In fact, he often attributed all his powers to God and never took credit for the miracles himself. He believed that his ability to heal came from God alone, and he made sure that anyone who sought healing also understood that their faith in God was the true source of any miracle. The most important factor in Padre Pio's miracles wasn't just his divine abilities, it was his unwavering faith in God. Padre Pio's faith was the cornerstone upon which everything was built. His ability to heal, his miracles, and his profound spiritual protection all flowed from the deep well of his connection with God. The faith he embodied wasn't passive, it was active, living, and transformative. His belief that God could heal the sick and protect the soul gave him the strength to perform miracles, but more importantly, it gave others the courage to believe in divine healing as well. Padre Pio and spiritual healing is a story of how powerful faith can be when combined with prayer and trust in God's will. People who sought his help didn't just need physical healing, they needed a transformation of heart. Padre Pio often said that the most important aspect of healing was not the body, but the soul. This perspective emphasized that true healing powers of Padre Pio came from restoring the connection to the divine. When someone came to him for healing, whether it was for a disease or an emotional burden, Padre Pio's first task was to strengthen their faith in God. He believed that the soul's healing was the key to the body's healing. Many of the Padre Pio miracles involved not just the physical healing of illness, but the restoration of a person's spirit. It's common to hear stories of those who walked away from Padre Pio with their health restored, but equally significant are the accounts of individuals whose hearts and minds were radically transformed by his faith. For example, a person who entered his presence might have been struggling with doubt or anger, but after a moment of prayer with Padre Pio, they experienced a profound shift in their outlook on life. This spiritual healing was just as miraculous as any physical cure, because it connected them to a source of power beyond themselves. The essence of Padre Pio's life-changing influence lies in his profound ability to transmit faith. His very presence exuded an energy of belief, which encouraged those who came to him to tap into their own spiritual power. He taught people that spiritual protection through Padre Pio wasn't just about his prayers, but about their own trust in God. His role was to guide people back to the divine, to remind them of the power that resided within them if only they had the faith to access it. What's so remarkable about Padre Pio's faith is that he never made any of his miracles about himself. He was humble, always deflecting any praise and pointing people to God. This profound humility only magnified the impact of his Padre Pio miracles because it showed that the true source of healing was God alone, not the saint himself. He was merely a vessel for divine intervention. His entire life in the Padre Pio story was one of surrender to God's will. And in this surrender, he became the instrument through which countless people experienced profound healing, protection, and transformation. Let's also consider how Padre Pio's faith was intertwined with his daily life. He wasn't just a man who prayed in times of need. His life was a constant act of devotion and trust. He spent hours in prayer each day, offering his own suffering for the sake of others. His faith was not something he turned on and off. It was a continuous flow that sustained him and those around him. His example teaches us that the power of faith in Padre Pio was not about sudden bursts of belief in a crisis, but about a consistent, deep-rooted trust in God. It was this constant, unshakable faith that allowed him to heal, perform miracles, and offer spiritual protection to countless individuals. A key takeaway from Padre Pio's faith is that we too can access the healing and spiritual protection he embodied, but we must nurture our faith every day. Just as Padre Pio spent hours in prayer, we too can set aside time to connect with the divine, to build our own faith, and to open ourselves to healing, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual. Padre Pio and spiritual healing was not just about miracles in his time, it was about teaching people how to walk in faith and trust in the divine power available to them at all times. Padre Pio's legacy is not merely a collection of miracles or divine interventions. It is a profound example of spiritual healing that continues to inspire and protect millions worldwide. His story is not just about a saint from the past, but about an ongoing presence in the lives of those who seek his intercession. The legacy of Padre Pio goes far beyond the tangible miracles he performed. It resides in the deep spiritual teachings he left behind, particularly about spiritual protection through Padre Pio and how to live a life of faith, devotion, and trust in the divine. One of the most significant aspects of Padre Pio's life-changing influence was his ability to protect those in need. The spiritual protection Padre Pio provided was not limited to his lifetime. People continue to call upon his intercession today, experiencing his powerful presence in moments of crisis. Through the prayers and the deep faith he inspired, Padre Pio continues to guide people toward healing. This protection is not just physical, but extends into emotional and spiritual realms, offering people a shield from life's challenges, much like how Padre Pio healed countless souls during his lifetime. Padre Pio's faith in the power of God was not only for his personal journey, but also for the healing and transformation of others. His Padre Pio miracles were a direct reflection of his complete trust in divine will. He knew that God's power could transcend any barrier, heal any wound, and protect anyone who was willing to trust in the Almighty. The miracles of Padre Pio were, in essence, a manifestation of the power of faith. His legacy teaches us that with unwavering belief, the impossible becomes possible. Whether it was physical healing or the restoration of peace and joy, Padre Pio exemplified how faith opens the doors to the divine and allows us to experience miraculous transformation. But Padre Pio's legacy is not just about receiving spiritual protection or miracles. It's about the way he taught us to live out our faith in every moment. Padre Pio and spiritual healing were inseparable, and his life was a testament to the healing power of constant prayer, self-sacrifice, and living in accordance with divine will. His commitment to daily prayer and his continual offerings for the souls of others show us the depth of his spiritual discipline and connection to God. It wasn't just about being healed by divine intervention. It was about cultivating a life of such profound faith that healing could occur naturally through it. The legacy Padre Pio left us is not one that can be measured by miracles alone. It is the living example of how faith can radically transform our lives. Today, the legacy of Padre Pio endures not only in the stories of his miracles, but also in the many lives he continues to touch. People experience spiritual protection and healing powers of Padre Pio through his teachings, prayers, and intercession, showing that his influence reaches far beyond the boundaries of time. The power of Padre Pio's faith is alive and active in the hearts of those who trust in his guidance. For many, Padre Pio's faith serves as a model of how to trust in God's will even in the most difficult times. His life was a testimony to the fact that divine healing and protection are not just about what happens in the moment, but about building a foundation of belief that can withstand anything life throws our way. Padre Pio and the spiritual healing he provided continue to be a beacon of hope for those struggling with illness, doubt, or spiritual despair. His Padre Pio miracles are timeless, and his legacy lives on in each person whose life has been touched by his spirit and intercession. The influence of Padre Pio is not something confined to the past. His miracles, prayers, and teachings continue to impact lives around the world. People still experience spiritual protection through Padre Pio today, even though he has passed on. This lasting influence is one of the most powerful aspects of his Padre Pio legacy, a legacy of faith, healing, and divine intervention that transcends time and space. Padre Pio's spiritual powers were not a product of just one moment in history. They were a reflection of his ongoing relationship with God, and this relationship didn't end with his death. Countless stories tell of people who, even after Padre Pio's passing, have felt his presence in moments of dire need. His spiritual protection is still accessible, as those who call upon his intercession find themselves healed, comforted, and spiritually guided. His continued miracles of Padre Pio are a reminder that the divine is ever present for those who open their hearts to it. One of the reasons Padre Pio's miracles continue to happen is because his faith was not just about miraculous acts, it was about creating a bridge between heaven and earth. Padre Pio's faith was the conduit through which God's divine power flowed, and when we reach out in faith today, we are tapping into that same power. His Padre Pio miracles weren't random acts but manifestations of an ongoing spiritual connection that still resonates. His life was one of complete surrender to God's will, and this surrender allows us to experience his miraculous works even now. How Padre Pio changed lives goes beyond the physical healing he provided. He transformed souls, bringing peace, hope, and faith to those who were lost. His legacy isn't just about what happened during his lifetime, but about the lives he continues to touch long after his death. People still pray for his intercession today, and many report experiencing profound changes in their health, spirit, and outlook on life. The Padre Pio story is a testament to the timelessness of his influence, showing that the healing he offered wasn't bound by time or space. It was a gift that continues to impact anyone with the faith to ask for it. When we talk about Padre Pio's life-changing impact, we're referring to much more than miracles. We're talking about an ongoing spiritual presence that guides people to a higher understanding of their own faith in the divine. Padre Pio's faith was transformative because it empowered others to believe in their own connection to God. His legacy teaches us that we, too, can harness the power of faith to change our lives and the lives of those around us. Padre Pio and spiritual healing show us that true transformation comes from within, and that spiritual protection Padre Pio offers is a reflection of our own willingness to trust in the divine. If you're feeling lost, struggling with illness, or searching for answers, remember that Padre Pio's faith is still alive today, and his Padre Pio miracles continue to transform lives. It's not just about seeking miraculous healing. It's about learning to walk in faith, to trust in the power of God, and to understand that healing is a holistic process that involves the body, mind, and soul. Padre Pio didn't just heal. He taught others to heal themselves through faith. His legacy is a legacy of spiritual empowerment, reminding us that the spiritual protection through Padre Pio isn't just about his miracles. It's about cultivating faith in the divine power that lives within us all. The profound influence of Padre Pio's faith extends far beyond the miracles he performed during his lifetime. It's evident in the lives of countless people who, even after his passing, continue to experience his guidance, spiritual protection, and healing. Padre Pio's legacy isn't just about the powerful moments of divine intervention he facilitated. It's about the lessons he taught about how to live a life of faith, devotion, and surrender to God's will. What makes Padre Pio's miracles so impactful is that they weren't just signs of divine power. They were the result of a deep, unwavering connection with God. Padre Pio's spiritual powers were rooted in his absolute surrender to God's plan. He didn't claim any credit for the miracles he performed because he knew that it was God working through him. His life was a continuous act of devotion, and he showed that true spiritual power comes not from the self, but from divine alignment and trust. This is one of the most important lessons that Padre Pio's story imparts to us today. One of the key aspects of Padre Pio's life-changing legacy is how it empowers us to experience the same transformation he did. His Padre Pio miracles weren't just about physical healing, they were about a deep spiritual awakening. Through his example, we learn that we too can cultivate the spiritual protection Padre Pio provided by living in alignment with God's will and having faith that we are supported by a divine presence that transcends all worldly struggles. Padre Pio's faith wasn't about the big, dramatic moments. It was about the everyday practice of living in connection with the divine. His life reminds us that faith isn't just something we turn to in times of crisis. It's a daily commitment to walk with God. When we choose to live with faith, trust, and devotion, we can access the same power that allowed Padre Pio to heal, protect, and transform lives. Padre Pio and spiritual healing is not just about waiting for miracles. It's about recognizing that healing is possible through the consistent practice of faith and devotion. The legacy of Padre Pio is more than just an accumulation of stories. It's a powerful call to each of us to deepen our own connection with the divine. Through his example, we are reminded that the true power of Padre Pio's miracles lies in the active pursuit of faith. It's not about waiting for a divine intervention, but about being open to the spiritual blessings and protection that are already available to us through our relationship with God. Spiritual protection through Padre Pio is not a passive gift. It's a continual process of aligning ourselves with the divine, living with purpose, and trusting that we are always supported by a higher power. As you reflect on the life of Padre Pio, consider how his spiritual healing and his faith can guide your own journey. His legacy is a reminder that we too have access to divine healing, protection, and guidance when we open our hearts and trust in God's will. Padre Pio's life-changing impact is something that continues to guide and inspire, and it's up to each of us to carry forward the lessons he imparted about the power of faith, prayer, and spiritual protection. As we conclude this journey through the miraculous life of Padre Pio, we find ourselves reflecting on the profound impact he had not only through his miracles but also through the life he led, one of unwavering faith, deep spirituality, and divine intervention. Padre Pio's healing powers were not simply about curing physical ailments. They were about transforming lives, restoring hope, and connecting people with the divine in ways they never thought possible. His Padre Pio miracles continue to inspire us today, reminding us that the power of faith, prayer, and spiritual dedication can change lives. The legacy of Padre Pio is not confined to stories of the past, but rather continues to guide us in our own spiritual journeys. His life-changing influence teaches us that spiritual protection through Padre Pio isn't just a gift he gave others. It is a practice we can carry forward in our own lives. The protection, healing, and divine intervention Padre Pio offered are available to us as well, if we open ourselves to faith, trust, and the power of prayer. As you move forward, remember that Padre Pio's faith wasn't something extraordinary reserved only for saints. It is something accessible to us all. His spiritual healing wasn't just about miracles. It was about living in alignment with God's will. His Padre Pio story is a call to action for each of us to deepen our own relationship with the divine, to embrace faith in our daily lives, and to be open to the possibility of healing, protection, and transformation. Now that you've learned about Padre Pio's miracles and the incredible legacy he left behind, it's time to take action. Reflect on your own life. What areas do you need spiritual healing, protection, or guidance? Open your heart to Padre Pio's spiritual protection and trust in the power of faith to bring transformation into your life. If you're feeling lost or uncertain, remember that Padre Pio's prayers are still available to you today. His intercession, his teachings, and his divine connection can still bring healing and peace into your life. So I encourage you to take a moment, say a prayer, and trust that the spiritual powers of Padre Pio are just as active now as they were when he walked the earth. If this video has inspired you, share it with others who might benefit from Padre Pio's faith and healing powers. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to stay connected and continue exploring how faith, prayer, and the divine can change your life. Comment below and let us know how you've been touched by Padre Pio's story or what miracles you're seeking in your life. Trust in the divine power of Padre Pio. Just as he changed lives in the past, he can transform yours today.